We extend our deepest sympathies to his family and friends during this difficult time. Professor Hussein's dedication and mission will continue to inspire the global diabetes community as we strive to improve the lives of those affected by diabetes. In honor of his legacy, let us observe a moment of silence. Dedication as we continue with our event. Moving to our first session, we have a special Type 1 Linked 1 session, and for this I would like to invite to the stage Dr. Dhruvi Hasnani. She is the co-founder and diabetologist at Rudraksha Institute of Medical Science. Dr. Shahana Yasmin, she is the junior diabetologist at Jyotev's Diabetes Research Center. Ms. Mehak Dangra, she is a diabetes educator as well as a person with type 1 diabetes. And we have Sona, she's also a person with diabetes. Please.
So, good afternoon and welcome to the first day of our 12th JPEF at Trivandrum. May I request all of you to, maybe gather in the front rows, and we can have a very interactive session with our beautiful and very empowered girls on this stage, Mehak and Sona, and Dr. Yasmin as well. I am Dr. Dhruvi, and today we'll all be linked with each other, and that is how this session has been named, Linked 1. Thanks to the entire team of JPEF and Jyotidev sir for empowering all of us to talk about such an important cause. So without much delay, I'm here as a doctor to link with our people with type 1 diabetes. So my first question over to you, Mehak. Mehak, over here with your mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Mehak, can you first introduce yourself and then we'll take it up.
I'm Mehak this side. I'm type 1 from 17 plus years now. And now I'm a diabetes educator. I've had a wonderful up and down journey just like my sugars with my diabetes. And my relation with diabetes has changed over time. So I'll share with you through our conversation.
Thank you so much. So can you tell us, all of us, what happened at the time when somebody first told you that you have type 1 diabetes?
Okay. So I was 15 years old when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Just 1 month away from my class 10th board. And if you are in India, you know how important class 10th board are. So everybody was clueless what has happened. My mother got a call from Lalpath lab that your daughter's sugars are 580. It felt as if the entire house has gone dark and my mother was totally confused. So her first question to you was, are you talking about my daughter who is 15 years old? And they said, yes, we have double checked the reports. Please go to the doctor. And it was 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. is mostly lunchtime and we don't get any doctor at that time. So it was a very, very difficult moment at that particular time. But yeah, we have come through it.
Thank you, Mehak. So out of the audience over here, how many of you are a part of a team taking care of children or people with type 1 diabetes? With a raise of hands. Yes, yes. All right. For everybody else, like Mehak said, it's a shock to the parents, first of all. The child is still clueless as to what is happening, but the parents feel a shock like you just said, Mehak. Mehak, what was the feeling of your parents? Like you just said, your mom was like, hell broke loose on her. How did it all change through time?
So initially, my parents went through a very traumatic experience, but all they knew the moment they stepped out of doctor's office, they knew that they have to be strong for me because doctor had explained them what has happened and he didn't explain it to me at that particular time because he knew I had my board exam just 1 month later. So he very carefully explained everything to my parents, and the moment they moved out of the doctor's clinic, I don't know what kind of strength God gifted them, they never made me feel that I have diabetes. They made entire journey so smooth. So I always say it is easier to be a type 1, but it is way difficult to be a parent of a type 1 because parents have to be strong. They cannot get loose at any point of time.
Can you tell us again what was the age when you were first told?
15 years.
And now you are?
33 years.
Well, happy birthday to you. How has it all changed in these 15 years? Has something changed?
Oh, yeah. So tremendously. First of all, I have changed. I've grown through diabetes. Initially, my relation with diabetes was very bad, or I should say my relation with myself was very bad. all I knew was I had to deal or suffer with diabetes. And now that I have come through long way, I realized that it need not be suffering as such, because I learned diabetes management, I learned to respect my body. So if I can take you just little back, 2017, my HbA1c used to be around 9, 8, 11, and fast forward last 2 years, my HbA1c has been always below 6.4. So my relationship has changed with myself, my own body, and of course with diabetes.
So for the sake of our audience right now, could you describe a typical day of a person without type 1 and of a person with type 1? How is it different with you and I?
Okay, this is my favorite answer. This is already, you know, Big Boss season is going on in India. How many of you see that serial known as Big Boss? It's coming on OTT.
Yeah, somebody is watching.
Somebody I saw. So, you know, Big Boss, they say 5 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning. I say 5 a.m. in the morning, check blood sugars. 11 a.m. in the morning, check blood sugars before having breakfast, take insulin. After 2 hours, check blood sugar, take insulin. So basically, yes, we have to check our sugars at least 6 to 8 times a day, which is very regular, which a non-diabetic doesn't have to do. We have to take insulin shots minimum 6 to 8 times a day, which is again now part of my life. So how can I differentiate? I would not differentiate. Only thing I would say is insulin I might have to take, sugars check I might have to take, which takes 2 minutes extra. But something positive that has happened is I am now careful of what I eat, which a non-diabetic is not, and I exercise religiously. So 2 hours in the morning, no matter what I do, 2 hours in morning I exercise. So that ways, if I see, diabetes has given me a positive perspective towards my relationship with my life rather than a non-diabetic.
Do you think our audiences exercise?
How many of you do actually exercise every day? Every day. Oh, great. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And do you think they take care of their nutrition as much as you take?
I'm hoping that you are doctors. I do believe that you take care of your nutrition. But yes, I call myself, at times, you know, people will ask, why are you so careful about these things? And I say, I'm a freak. I want my health to be the best. And till date, in my own family, I say, you make all my cousins stand with me, all my siblings stand with me, and I can make sure that I'm the most active and energetic among them.
So it is said that a person living with diabetes in these days and in these era are much more healthier in comparison to a person without diabetes because they are more disciplinized. They're taking care of themselves through the nutrition and the exercise, just like Mehak said. But it is all about the perspective. It is all about how we are approaching a situation. Has type 1 diabetes in a way impacted your life emotionally, professionally, as well as, you know, in terms of the physical sense in comparison to, let's say, your friends who have not been diagnosed with type 1?
So initially when I was diagnosed, like I said, I was 15 years old. I didn't know I have to spend time with my friends, and I was not able to deal with my being diagnosed with diabetes to tell them enough that what has happened with me. So I would avoid them. And me being a child, I was expecting them to understand, forgetting that they are also of my age. So that time it did take emotional toll. But if I have to say now, diabetes gave me the purpose. I'm a diabetes educator, and I am actually I'm master's in international trade and investment law, left my entire career and became a diabetes educator. So professionally, diabetes has impacted me very positively. I'm a speaker here. So see, I could have said that diabetes has pulled me down, but I always say diabetes has empowered me. It is giving me different stages to come and share my story about. So diabetes has professionally empowered me. Emotionally, I cannot get weak at any particular time because I am mentoring more than 500 type 1 kids, and when I mentor them online. A 4-year-old child who comes and looks up to me, sits for 1 hour, he wants to just listen to how I am going about my life. Every time I feel that I am losing hope or I am getting emotional, those faces start coming in my mind. So definitely, there's no option of being emotional now about diabetes. It has empowered me.
But Mehak, even in this conversation right now, we feel that the main hero is diabetes and not Mehak or not Sona. Why is that so? Is the perspective changing, or did you face any, you know, sort of a prejudice, or oh bechara mera Mehak, ya fir oh bechara mera Sona? You know, did you face any sort of a prejudice when it came to school, when it came to your relatives? Was something different?
So initially, you know, when I was diagnosed, like I said, 1 month before my class 10 board, my maths teacher told my mother exactly in these words, why don't you make Mehak drop her class 10th? That was the first time I felt, oh, I'm not like other kids. But obviously my father said, she has studied 11 months, now just for last 1 month, I'll not let her give up. And in my own personal life also, I was in a parlor, beauty parlor. So the lady, she saw my pump and she said, oh my God, now nobody will marry you. You have this thing attached to you. So this keeps coming again and again. Society is always going to judge me. But the most important thing is how I see myself. So I say that diabetes is a crown that has been bestowed upon me by the universe, and I have to keep that crown intact. So it's my perspective of seeing the diabetes, and that's what I tell everybody in my community also, that you have been chosen for a purpose. So this is a crown that the universe has bestowed upon you, and if you will feel sorry, the crown will fall. So I stopped feeling sorry for myself, and the same thing, I think diabetes is giving it back to me. Now diabetes doesn't feel sorry for me.
Thank you, Mehak. That is really important as to how we are perceiving ourselves as type 1s. I would like to introduce another, a champion of type 1 diabetes from the country of Maldives. Would you like to introduce yourself, please? Can we have a mic for her? They'll give it. So in the meantime, for all our audiences again, Mehak, I'll come to you. Yeah, she got the mic, so we'll allow her to introduce herself.
Hi,
yes.
I'm Dr. Malha. I'm from Maldives.
Please join us on the stage. Please, dear.
Hello. In Maldives, we have around more than 200 registered type 1 patients, and our clinic takes care of almost all of them. So what you have said resonated a lot with how they have experienced as well. I wanted to ask her something, because we are having a bit of difficulty in this area because most of them are school children. So how did you manage your diabetes while you were still in school? Like when you get hypos and hypers, were you able to carry your diabetes supplies? Did your teachers support you? How was your friends' reactions? Yeah.
So I'll tell you, somewhere I feel I was blessed. My parents on the very first day went and told everybody in the school that Mehak has diabetes. My friends were also told. My friends in fact came and visited me to my place. And because I had to just sit in the class 10th board, the teachers were told that as per the instructions, they had to come and check up upon me after every 2 hours to see if my sugars are not going low or if I need something to consume. So that journey started from there itself. So maybe it started on the very positive note, and the school got into the habit of checking up. But once when I was post my board exams, I candidly made it, I told my teachers, I don't want you to check upon me every time, because then it makes me feel that I lack something. Only thing I did was carrying insulin all the time to school. I used to make sure I'm carrying my insulin, and my parents had made me aware of the symptoms of hypoglycemia, and if anything happened, I would communicate to my teacher, and I would always check my sugars. And this is what I tell people right now also, that be open about checking sugars in school. That is very important.
So I think the initiative has to come from your side rather than from the clinical point of view. We do provide every child with a diabetes medical management plan for the school, but we are still having difficulty raising the necessary awareness in the school environment for the children to have that type of independency that you were talking about.
So I understand that it's a very consistent process. I have been, with the Maldivian team as well. Dr. Banshi Sabu sir, Dr. Shashank Joshi sir, welcome. All of us have been trying to get the proper education to the teachers at school. to the parents of kids with type 1 diabetes who are going to school, and not just school, but even in the higher secondary, whenever they have their special examinations, their entrance exams, and even as young adults. So I think Mehak will involve Sona now a little bit. Sona, can you share your experience with us? How different it is? How different it has been for you, dear? Can you introduce yourself first for our audience, please? You translate whenever she's saying. Keep this mic, let us speak. Please, Sona.
എൻ്റെ പേര് സോന. ഞാൻ പാപ്പനംകുളം എന്ന സ്ഥലത്താണ് താമസിക്കുന്നത്. എനിക്ക് ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ DMLT കോഴ്സ് സെക്കൻഡ് ഇയറാണ് പഠിക്കുന്നത്. എനിക്ക് ഈ അസുഖം കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചത് 2.25 വയസ്സിലാണ്. അതുതൊട്ട് ഇതുവരെയും ഹാപ്പി ആയിട്ടാണ് പോകുന്നത്. ഇടയ്ക്ക് വന്നിട്ട്
She was diagnosed at the age of 2.5 years. Now currently she is 19 years old, and she came to Jyoti sir at the age of 5. So when diagnosis was made, she was in the hospital for 6 months continuously. So we can imagine what kind of situation the parents and the child would have gone through. So since then she got recently admitted for both hypos and hyperglycemia, and life was kind of a hell for her, and studies were also very going weak during that time. എന്നിട്ട് എങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു പിന്നെ എപ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മൾ പമ്പിലോട്ട് വന്നത്? ഏത് ഏജിലാണ് ആദ്യം പമ്പ് വെച്ചത്?
പമ്പ് ഞാൻ വെച്ചത് എൻ്റെ 12ാമത്തെ വയസ്സിലാണ് ഞാൻ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് വെച്ചത്.
She got the insulin pump at the age of 12 years for the first time. So she continued that for 7 years, and later on then she went back to multiple doses. And recently only in April we put her on this CGM, and that time we noticed the continuous hypos, and even there was a situation when at the younger age she was rushed to the hospital to Jyotidev sir by her father, and she was in extreme hypo, and she was given glucagon, and her life was saved by sir during that time. And now she is a looper again, and she is really happy with that, moving very finely with that, and her TIR is around 80%, right? Above 80 it is coming now.
So you know what, sometimes I'll just interrupt you all and put it for our audience, that sometimes we feel that technology is going to be an hindrance for us in terms of explaining to people with diabetes, because it is going to take a little more of our time. You see 2 champions over here, both of them using the DIY loop right now, and a lot of us are still clueless about how to incorporate DIY into the lives of people with diabetes. So both Sona and Mehak, one by one, if you can tell us how that DIY has changed your lives.
ഇത് വെച്ചതിൽ പിന്നെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചേഞ്ചസ് വന്നിട്ടുള്ളത്? പമ്പ് വെച്ചതിൽ പിന്നെ പഠിത്തത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യത്തിലായാലും രാത്രിയിലെ ഉറക്കത്തിൻ്റെ കാര്യം എങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയായിരുന്നു ചേഞ്ചസ്?
രാത്രിയിലാണെങ്കിൽ ഇടയ്ക്കിടയ്ക്ക് ബ്ലഡ് ഷുഗർ കുറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഉറക്കത്തിൽ എണീക്കുമായിരുന്നു പെട്ടെന്ന്. പിന്നെ ചിലപ്പോൾ അത് ദേഹം തളർന്ന് അങ്ങനെ തന്നെ കിടക്കുമായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ സ്റ്റഡിയിലാണെങ്കിൽ കുഴപ്പമില്ല, ഗുഡായിട്ടാണ് പോകുന്നത്.
Previously she had recurrent hypoglycemia, and sometimes she used to know, but there were sometimes she used to just lie down there itself. She couldn't move her body, and after looping, even that time her studies were affected really bad. But after getting into the loop, she is having very confident. She is feeling very confident on herself. Studies have improved a lot, and life is very happy. She is sleeping very, very well now.
Amazing, amazing. Mehak, how about you?
So I love DIY. Reason being, the perfect sleep you get, you don't have to get up at 3 a.m. to check your blood sugar. I would do anything for that. So Loop has given me that freedom that I don't need to get up, check my sugars at 3 a.m. or take insulin correction at 3 a.m. because it was the most difficult time. I was in very peaceful sleep, and every time you get up at 3 a.m. then I would get up late in the morning because I've woken up at 3 a.m., disturbed my sleep. With Loop, it has helped me so much that now I can wake up early morning, I go for my exercise, I give time to myself. I'm more independent when it comes to managing my sugars. I don't need to check about my highs and lows. Loop is going to take care. Even if I have sometime midnight hypo or compression low, the Loop will automatically work on it. So that way it has given me lot of freedom to do things that it made me more productive. I don't have to be after my sugars every time. I can focus on multiple other things. So not only loop, any technology that we use in diabetes, the intent is to make us more productive and help us manage better. So that was DIY has helped.
Alright, Mehak, now we'll go back to basic. You told us how DIY is helpful, but what is DIY for the benefit of our audience? Yes. If you can show your pump and Sona already has these.
It was like a jigsaw puzzle actually with so many devices. Exactly. Nobody will be knowing what exactly they do.
So basically DIY is when we connect 5 devices to automate the pump to give us insulin as per our sugars. So that means if my sugars go high, my pump will start correcting it automatically. And if my sugars go low or they are about to go low, it works on predictive analysis. So it predicts that the sugars are about to go high and it will slowly start delivering insulin. It predicts that sugars are about to go low and it stops the delivery of the insulin. We use 5 devices. So right now on my body there are 5 devices. On Sona's body there are 5 devices. So we'll start with CGM. Sona CGM. So one is CGM. Second on the top of CGM we see is Meow Meow. Third is insulin pump, that is in her pocket. If you see, mine is also in my pocket. Fourth is the phone. Mobile phone is very important. And fifth is this orange link that Sona is holding and I have EMA link. So mine is a different one, hers is a different one. So these are 5 devices that we use to automate it. And we have to keep all these 5 devices together. It's difficult, but the worth we are getting is way more than the difficulty of carrying these 5 devices.
So, we should appreciate them and maybe give them a round of applause for continuously taking care of themselves. And it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. So, Mehak, I come back to you again and Sona as well. How do you think this technology is simplifying your numbers right now? If you can, either one of us show us your time in range.
Yeah, I like the time. So, best thing about technology is, I have a habit every night at 12 o'clock I open my DIY Loop app and I click on statistics. I don't know, you won't be able to see it from there, but the statistics here completely shows that how much insulin I am taking every day. Out of that insulin, how much is going as basal, how much is going as bolus, and how much is my time in range, how much is my time below range, and how much is my time above range. Most important thing that it helps me with is to analyze time below range. We almost focus on time in range, but we forget the time below range. That means if I am having lot of hypos, my HbA1c will automatically come normal. So with this, I am more careful that if I am having lot of hypos, where I am going wrong. So this statistics, the numbers that it provides me, helps me plan my next day. And that is what I tell everybody. Please watch your statistics once either early morning or late at night and plan your next day. That okay, these were the mistakes I did, this is what the graph reflects. And next day, I'll not repeat those mistakes. I used to have lot of hypos because of my 2-hour exercise regime. So I used to analyze my graph every day, and I sat with one of the educators also, and we both were just discussing. And then we were able to break out that my insulin delivery before exercise has to stop 30 minutes before. So now, before I go for my gym, I stop my insulin delivery through loop 30 minutes before that. It was only possible because I'm analyzing my graphs. And I was also talking to a lot of other diabetes educators on what they do in their cases.
So will the loop not
It automatically shuts down, but we have to tell that we are doing some activity.
Can we have a mic for that?
Activity has to be told. So what I do is I give the activity command 30 minutes before. 30 minutes before, because
what type of activity or which we have to stop?
Sir, because I do 2 hours of rigorous gym. Yeah, aggressive. Simple walk also I have. Simple walk so definitely requires the activity command because it causes hypo. Gym, even if we can avoid the command, it will still work because the gymming is like we do strength training. So
if someone is going for swimming?
Swimming will require activity command, but they will have
to remove the loop also?
There are ways of now they have come up with some accessories where they can carry it with while swimming also. But in India we don't have those accessories, so we recommend to take it off. While swimming 45 minutes off loop, the sugars remain normal. After 45 minutes they have to come out, take correction, and then they can go for swimming again.
And what about the after exercise, your sugar may increase also?
In my case,
Because you are stopping it for 45 minutes.
sir, so what loop does is, it doesn't stop, it takes the activity command, and then if it sees that the sugars are, so activity command is that for 2 hours, we will only deliver insulin if sugars go above 160. So my target I have set as 160. For some people I set it at 140 because I know that my activity time is 2 hours, so that is why I have set mine for 160. So if while doing exercise my sugars go above 160, loop will automatically start, it will not listen to any command.
So Meg, how many patients in India, I mean persons with type 1 diabetes, I should not say patients, are on loop? If we compare them with a 780G for time in range, so those who are on a looping, their time in range and time in tight range, and we compare it with the 780G.
Sir, can we have you on stage, please?
Yeah, please.
Sir, please. We have the honor of having Dr. Banshi Sabu, sir, and Padma Shri Dr. Shashank Joshi, sir. Sir, can we have you on stage, please?
Yes, sir, come.
Yes.
Please, sir.
So,
But the exercise is very important, no?
yes, yes, sir.
Type 1 diabetes, for an exercise is a real big challenge.
Definitely, sir. So we have only 200 people in comparison to 780G, 1200 people on 780G and 200 on loop. So the data.
200 we can match, except that.
Data.
That is still 200 is good enough. If we have 200 people with type 1 diabetes who are on loop, we can compare it with 780G who are on
Yes,
200.
we can. Only problem is that loopers are not very open or coming out. But yes,
Maybe
but
even 20.
Jyotidev sir's team has been trying to bring
even
them
only
forward.
20.
Yeah.
They can be compared for that.
Yes, sir. Yes. So, benefits of personally what I have experienced for 780G, the personal commands that we can give to loop, like I am about to start activity. So my loop knows that, okay, something unusual is going to happen.
And before food also, how
There
many
is
minutes before you have to give the command?
So 30 minutes, I can give the command between 30 minutes, 15 minutes that I am about to have food. So what it will do, it will automatically start. I'm not giving any insulin. I'm just giving command that I'm about to have food. And it will automatically start bringing my sugars down to 80, 90. So that by
That
the
your
time,
basal will increase by loop.
it will increase my basal rate.
And when you will be taking your food, before how many minutes you will be again taking your bolus?
Sir,
15 minutes?
personal practice is 5 to 10 minutes basically. Especially in morning because I exercise, so sensitivity is more. Evening when it comes, then I take 15 minutes time gap.
So Mehak, congratulations. I think
Thank you, sir.
The looping community needs to generate evidence, but I think and Jyoti has been a pioneer in something which is new and novel.
Yes.
So I feel that the pumpers are like driving a car, but are very laid back, while the loopers are more motivated, they are more focused, they are driven for a better TITR. So they have a zest and zeal to do up the bar.
True.
So if you ask me from a psychological standpoint, I think the looping community's motivation level is right up there.
Right.
I think the people living on a pump don't have that zest, zeal and enthusiasm. I think they have a pseudo sense of confidence that, look, I have a pump and I'm done with everything. And I can pretty much do everything.
Right.
So I think that's really the core, if you ask me. And I think the only thing science-wise, because we are evidence-based, it's Jyoti, you can take the lead. Take 20 people who are in the looping community, volunteers. Take 20 pumpers, which you have. And just do a small head-to-head. And, doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani, no Hindi. But which means that, it will separate the boys from the men and the girls from the women.
Right.
So I think I must put your hands together for all these people who are doing the loop. I think your motivation level, and also you are very vocal, you are very transparent, and what I call looping is incremental innovation on what is already available. So I think, it's the first step towards personalized or precision care.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank Padma Shri Shashank and also Dr. Banshi for joining us on this stage, because so much of work being done in the space of type 1 diabetes by Dr. Banshi and the entire team. And Dhruvi, thank you so much. And for the audience who have joined late, this is a session on type 1 diabetes. And you can see that in this session, there are a group of doctors along with people with type 1 diabetes. And this is not something which is usual in the scientific forums. Is it usual? Not usual. And this is something which we are learning from them. So for a long time, you know that insulin was discovered originally for type 1 diabetes. And this was discovered more than 100 years ago. And even after 100 years, we found that people with type 1 diabetes are still having a limited lifespan. And they succumb to neuropathy, nephropathy, and other complications of diabetes. And now we have automated insulin delivery systems which are available in the market, and we do have a couple of workshops. Even after a while, I am also speaking on AAD. But there is another AAD, and that is do it yourself. And these are people creating their own automated insulin delivery devices. And Mehak is one of the leaders. And Mehak has spoken about taking care of 500 people with type 1 diabetes. 200
lupus.
And Dr. Shahana is working with us. And this is Sona. Yes, she was a small child when I met her first with type 1 diabetes and Nagesh multiple episodes of hypoglycemia. And I remember, very vividly remember, Sona's father is over there. I vividly remember one occasion where she was completely unconscious. And that was in the beginning when I started meeting her. And luckily, I was available in the hospital. And I injected glucagon and she was saved. And I could see the miracle of giving a glucagon because she was collapsed and I couldn't access any vein. So when DIY, of course, DIY is not approved and DIY we are officially not, as doctors we cannot prescribe do it yourself. But anyway, now she is on. For a while we were providing her with the other pump for many years and now she is on DIY. And did you, Shahana, discuss about DIY? No, Shahana has to discuss something which has a miracle happened in her life with just 40% time in range for many, many years. Now, can you believe it, DIY? Mehak is supporting her. Can anybody say her current time in range? Any guess? Yes, what is it? It is more. It is almost 98%. And there is no time below range. So there is no hyperglycemia at all. And Dr. Shasha, and Benshi, one more question. We are supporting the type 1 community. And what is your experience so far? Empowering the type 1 community, are they improving in their training others? And because I know that you have supported many associations headed by type 1 diabetes, and now they have their own forums, and we are mutually supporting them.
So the first big support with the program in India was by CDIC. The Changing Diabetes in Children, we started giving all children with the insulin. It was regular as well as long-acting. And now even Sanofi, RSSDI, and more than 20,000 children by LFSC and different organizations are supporting. And Durvi knows it, that we started since long. It was 2007. Since then we are supporting these children. But 1/3 of them who are highly motivated. So by giving everything free does not mean they will improve. So the average A1C, if you see, the average of type 1 used to be around more than 10. Now it has come down to 9. The average still is 9, not like that. Those who are coming to tertiary care centers, I am putting like my own data, I am saying you. But out of them, 1/3 of them who are doing very good. Even on the basal bolus, simple, checking their sugar 4 times in a day. Even they develop sometime hypoglycemia, taking correction dose, and all those things they do. Even they may be on regular insulin, they may be on analog insulin also. But now most of my patients are on, at least on long-acting glargine insulin is there. With the short-acting insulin or short-acting insulin analog. Even it is given free. 1/3 of them are achieving their HbA1c less than 8. Now, achieving HbA1c less than 7 or 7.5 or 6.5 without continuous glucose monitoring or without pump, it is almost impossible, or otherwise they will develop multiple times hypoglycemia. This is my experience of last 10-15 years. But we have 1/3 of them, they are achieving less than 8. If you see their 4 reports in a year, they will find sometimes 7.8, sometimes 7.5, sometimes 7.9, sometimes even 8.2 also. 1/3 of them will be, it's still between 8 to 9 or 9. And many of them, which will be almost like 1/3 or 40% of them, are still above 9 HbA1c, which is highly uncontrolled. We every time when they come, we try to educate them, we explain them. They don't measure multiple times. Sometimes they're missing the dose. They don't take insulin in the schools. They don't want to take insulin in front of everyone. They miss. Multiple issues are there. Even the insulin is given free. So that is what the motivation is the most important thing. And I like what Shashank told, that loopers are more motivated in compared to even the pumpers also. Then that also we have seen. The loopers mean he himself or she herself, she decided that I should be on loop, and they try to do everything and they make their own algorithm and all those things. I mean, they are highly motivated. Loopers have, I think they will have better time in range and maybe in time in tight range also. We have shown, I am going to show the data of Indian data of our 780Z. The time in tight range at present, whatever the number of persons to whom we have collected the data, is still more than 50 to 60%. Time in tight range. But time in range, we have more than 80% those who are on pump. Because that pump itself is, AID, such a extraordinary thing. So, they are going to achieve HbA1c also less than 7 or 6.5 without hypoglycemia. That is very, very important. But still, time in tight range is 50 to 60. It means they are less motivated. And for that, we want to compare between loopers and that. Yes.
So I think, Bansi, you make very good points. I have two main points, Jyoti, to make. One is in the type 1 community, people think they are pediatric, and that's not true. So I think we need to all as a group and recognize Bansi and Jyoti have been pushing this for a long time, that the largest population of adults with type 1 diabetes lives in India. And the adults with type 1 diabetes are the ones who have the poorest glycemic control. And the second thing is, as a mission, we should educate our colleagues from pediatrics that premix is not for type 1 diabetes. The type 1 diabetes insulin regimen is basal bolus regimen, and basal bolus regimen is a standard of care. And that is very, very important, because what happens is pediatricians unfortunately trade them with premix. They keep their A1Cs around 8 or 9. They land up with complications in adulthood, and they don't get too much of hypoglycemia. They don't land up with DKA. They reasonably manage their glucoses, but eventually in the long run we are hurting them. So I think two take-home messages: that type 1 diabetes may be diagnosed during childhood, but it's an adult disease. And the second thing is that premix is, for when it comes to type 1 diabetes, is not at all a standard of care. It has to be basal bolus, and we have affordable basal bolus care in India. So I think that's something which we must push at every forum.
Yes, sir.
And now Sanofi also supports more than 2,000 children in India with the along with RSSDI. We have a national project, more than 50 centers in India who are supplying almost like 30 to 50 patients per month to these type 1 children, and it's a long-acting insulin, and it's not necessarily, it's from their foundation, so not necessarily that you have to write only the insulin of their company, any insulin, and it is getting reimbursed. So it's almost more than 50 centers. So if you have any patient, write to us on our website of RSSDI. There is a blog also that how many patients you have, and we also have taken the support from Vocard and Biocon, now Aris, and they are also supplying us the free insulin, at least the longer acting insulin you can get. So almost 20,000 children are already getting support, but if you want more patients, we can support. Those who have more than 50 patients and they want their center to be recognized by Life for Child, and if they want that they should get support from Life for Child, they can write to me or Jyoti. We will connect you and we will get you for that LFSC center also, and your children below the age of 18 will able to get free insulin, which will be a long-acting insulin and short-acting insulin along with a glucose meter and strips for all these children.
I think one point that Dr. Benchi said, Dhruve, is very important. And this is emphasized by Dr. Shashank also. When we are giving free of cost, Dr. Jabbar is also there, you are also providing free of cost to hundreds of people. But if you look at the A1C level still remains high. And this is something, a reality all over the world. And we give them glucometers and we give them training. And
they don't monitor also.
They don't monitor.
We are giving them 100 strips per month. After 6 months or 3 months when they come back. Now we started giving only for 2 months, and we ask them for every 2 months they should come. They come after 3 months or 2 months. We find that they are not checking their sugar every day 4 times. They do it once or twice. It's like that.
So the primary reason for this is, I think, fear of hypoglycemia. And fear of hypoglycemia overrides the fear of long-term complications. And this is the sad truth. So again, the onus is on doctors and educators to educate people at large that, look, you need tighter glycemic control to prevent complications, and hypoglycemia is a natural action of insulin which needs education and needs a little rigidity. And whenever we try to put rigidity in a regimen, then the trade-off is hypoglycemia. So I think it's the fear of hypoglycemia which is leading to the higher A1Cs. And I think that is why education is the key. So I think it's all about education.
Thank you, sir. What we should actually be talking about is how we guys are involving people with diabetes as well in the decision-making process. And it is a team approach. It cannot be just the doctors. It cannot be just the people with type 1 diabetes. It cannot be just the parents doing something. We have to get together to do something for a better outcome. And this is a very privileged stage right now, and I would urge the audience to ask some questions because it is quite rare to have all of them at the same stage at the same time to answer our questions. So please, if you have any questions regarding type 1 diabetes, management, technology, this is the place and these are the people who will answer your questions. So any questions from the audience also? So let me ask you then, if nobody is asking, technology is what we've been emphasizing. Technology is something that we've been, looking forward to, and that's what these two girls are standing as an example of. How that technology can be propagated and disseminated more amongst the healthcare professionals. How can we be more accepting of that fact that we have to use that technology?
Yes. So I just want to give one example. National NHS, UK. Before 2017, in UK, any patient is getting treated by government of UK. So any type 1 diabetes was the same situation. They used to get the insulin from the government hospital. It is always from the hospital. The type 1 is not treated by primary care physician in UK. Type 2 will go to them, and type 2 with complication, and all type 1 will go to the hospital. So the hospital endocrinologist will write a medication and they will get the medicine from there. So they will get the glucose meter, strips, insulin. The average A1C of all these children with type 1 diabetes was more than 9. In 2017, and again the Partha, because he is a close friend of us, and we know that he started a movement that all type 1 should be on continuous glucose monitoring. At that time it just started, the Libre was there. And then he asked that government should buy the CGM. Without CGM, it's not possible. As I have told you already, the example that just by putting the patient on basal bolus and doing their 4th time, you see the DCCT data also. None of the patients could achieve less than 7. The average was 7.6, and they were getting 60 of them were having severe hypoglycemia also. So that's not possible in real world data. It was they were doing the study. So now NHS has started that they will be doing for all these children a CGM, continuous glucose monitoring. After 3 years, 17, 18, 19, and then during this COVID time, they decided this because remotely they will be able to monitor these patients. Almost all of them are now on continuous glucose monitoring. So any type 1, now even insulin taking, and anyone who is at the risk of hypoglycemia, and now even primary care physician also can write to CGM, and that type 2 also will get the CGM free of charge. So this is what I am saying you, the advocacy. Now what happened, since last 2 years, they decided that still after putting the CGM, I had shown in one of my slides, the data is there, by putting the patient also on CGM, you will not able to achieve the HbA1c less than 7. Still more than 80% of them, their HbA1c will be more than 7 HbA1c for type 1. Even they are putting on CGM, they might be taking 6 shots of short-acting insulin and they might be checking it continuously. Still it is not possible. So the pump is required. And now after 2 years of this continuous process, now it is from NHS, every type 1 can have pump. They have to go to the hospital. They have to ask for the pump. There are 4 pumps which are AID which are available in UK and they all can get. Now India is one of the fastest growing economy. It's not like that we don't have the money. The problem is our will. So the ICMR had come out with a guideline before 2 years for type 1 diabetes, and some of the experts were there and they decided only to do it twice a day. When I was there, after that there was a discussion why we should, because actually we are born poor. We can't think something which is, we think always that your patient will not able to do it. It's very costly. Why we should? as a guideline, as a national government. This time when they were talking in the group, I told no. Now you can't think of doing only 2 times or 4 times. The guideline should be that all type 1 should be on CGM. Whether you do or not, that's nothing. So the RSSDI I talked from the type 1 community. I am talking from Diabetes India that all type 1 should be on continuous glucose monitoring. There cannot be any exception. You are putting or not putting, that's a different thing. As a guideline, you can't say. So unless it comes in a guideline, there will not be any awareness amongst the physicians. There will not be any, like what you are saying, the technology, why people are not aware, because we are not talking. Then somebody will come that it's very costly. Because why it cannot be done from India, why insulin pump is not coming from India, why CGM is not coming from India. Then I always give an example, when there was only 1 car or 2 cars and hardly few people were affording the car. No Indian company was interested to make the car. Suddenly there was a boom. Internationally, many of the car companies started coming. We all started using car. And now you see the Tata and Mahindra, they are giving competition to the all big giants and all over the world who are the car making company. So I am sure if we will have, Shashank had told already that we have highest type 1 children in the world. 24,000 children are added in this, which is also highest in the world. Our adult population of type 1 is less because they are dying early. So if we all start talking about that the technology usage should be more, if we talk more about the CGM, if we talk about the more of the pump, I am sure tomorrow the Indian company will also come with all these products too. Because it is not required, that's the reason we are not using it. The same thing is, I am talking about the GLP-1. GLP-1 usage in India is less. Why semaglutide had not come injectable first in India, even we have so much obesity. The reason was simple, that the previous GLP-1 also we had not used so much. We had not given so many patients the GLP-1. That's the reason our requirement was less. And they decided that India will be given after 2 or 3 years the injectable semaglutide for the weight loss. So I mean, it's more you need, more you write, you will get more of the products and it will be cheaper also.
Mindset is everything. So I think it is how you educate and how you empower. I think if the dialogue is done by, and the best empowerment comes peer to peer. So if I ask Mehak or a Riddhi to talk to them, or one of these girls to talk to them, to the person, how technology transformed their lives, how CGM transformed their lives, how Loop transformed their life, acceptance is instant. Okay, it's peer support and peer group. Second thing is, rather than using scary techniques and there is going to be intrusion into your personal life, I think we have to say that these are empowerment tools which allow you to have more flexibility. So if you can celebrate your parties and birthdays better, you can do your swimming and sports better. I think if you are able to give those positive strides and give a positive stroke to their entire mind game, I think it's very possible to break psychological barriers. There are barriers. People are averse to a phobia called injection phobia. It's created myth, as Bansi is saying. These myths are created that, you'll have to be on this injection the rest of your life. You'll have to keep pricking. If you prick more, you will have more problems. And I think it's important to recognize that this is the way of life. It's a part of your life, like wearing a watch, wearing a shirt, having a spectacle. If you wear a device of a CGM, it's just like a spectacle. It's telling you how your glucose is swimming, where you are, and then you can do your adjustment. If you want to have a baklava down and take an extra 3 units, or your appam down, you can take it. There's nothing saying no. So I think the power of flexibility lies in power of education to break that psychological barrier. It's a mind barrier, and I think all of us have it. We also don't use insulin as a threat. Right. Don't use technology as a threat. Use technology as an enabler, as an empowerment tool, as an education tool. Jyoti?
Yeah, I completely agree with Dr. Shashank. In children, when we are suggesting technology, the decision is not taken by the children. Yeah. The decision is taken by the parents. So that's the problem. So doctors like us become very sad when 10% of the affordable people, they will decide not to go for a 780G. So that is when we are helpless. And you always used to tell them that when the children grow up and when they are 18 years or 20 years old, if they are already on a pump or an AID, they will be extremely grateful to their parents. We always used to tell them. I will request Dr. Jabbar to come over and discuss in 1 or 2 minutes, your personal experience, because I know that you are also part of providing free insulin and supplies to children with type 1 diabetes. Yeah. You are.
I think it's a very complex issue. It's not a simple and straightforward issue. But as my classmate, Dr. Shashank, was discussing, see, insulin treatment is really a complex one, whatever said and done. Today I'm going to discuss about the same issue, the physiological insulin or psychological insulin resistance. How to break this psychological insulin resistance? I think we should explore, at least in this conference, to find out some sort of remedy for that. All right, okay. And regarding insulin, all those issues, you already had a discussion. But I feel, we should take earnest or very sincere effort to increase the acceptance of insulin. Okay. Even for type 1, didn't you see cases, they don't want to start insulin in the initial phases? Shashank Bhai, am I right? But yes. Yeah, that's very common. So it's a combined effort of medical person, social worker, and paramedical person also to increase the importance of all those things. That's my views.
So your question was related to the inertia of using the technology. And my personal feeling is that we, more than 40,000 physicians who are actively practicing diabetes, all of them are very busy. And India, how much time you give, it is not going to increase your money, your consulting. I mean, I'm talking under the belt, somebody may feel bad. But this is like, even if you are seeing your patients for 2 minutes for thyroid, or you are saying some patient explaining for 20 minutes, whatever your consulting charge, it remains same. So what happens, a person who is a busy practitioner would like to finish his all 80 or 100 patients, because average all big endocrinologists like Jabbar must be seeing 100 patients in a day. It's very difficult for him to explain the patient about the newer technology. Because once you start talking about that, it is going to take your almost 20-30 minutes. And then you should have a supporting staff to educate, and that education should be continued. So suppose you talk about the patient, about the insulin pump. She is going to ask you, and the family is going to take your half an hour, for which you are not going to charge anything. And then your supporting staff, which your educator, your social worker, your dietitian, everyone should be in your clinic, and they should also talk whatever you have talked. In the same way. And then it requires a continuous education process. Like, when we are putting now the patients on pump, for 2 weeks we give free pump trial. The patients during these 2 weeks, he continuously keep on calling you. You have to be available on phone. You have to see your WhatsApp. You have to write a message to them that you don't worry. You have to reassure them. And you don't get anything. And patient feels that he is buying an insulin pump through you, which is costing almost 5,60,000 rupees. It means he feels that he has given you. He has given the doctor, while doctor is not getting out of that 5.60 even 500 rupees. Nothing he gets. But still, he is doing best for the patient. That's his complete purpose of doing the insulin pump for that particular patient. And that took almost 2-3 weeks or 6 weeks. After putting the patient on such like AID system, actually you are losing the patient. Because now patient is no more required. Patient will not require you also, because his sugar is absolutely well controlled. Otherwise every 3 months he used to come for HbA1c. Now she or he has not to come even for A1c also, because time in range is already saying. And in India nothing like that. He has to come back to you. He can get this prescription. Without your prescription also every supply he is going to get. So that's the second big challenge. So this is complete ecosystem, and that's the reason the doctors are not very much interested. AID had just been introduced in USA in last 1 year. To my surprise, when this time we were there, me and Jyoti were there in their program, in 1 year, 76,000 children were put on 780Z. They have all 4 AID. I am talking of only Medtronic, 76,000. And adult is another 73,000. Adults with put on AID, and most of them were already on older pump, which has been shifted on the new AID system. And you can see in last 2 years in India, even we are talking so much, we have highest number of type 1. We could not put more than 1,500 type 1 own AID system. So it's the inertia is because of the time constraints which we physicians have, and we don't want to spend that much time, neither to learn nor to teach, and we don't have the time because you don't get anything out of it, you don't get any money. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Banshi sir. May I just request Mehak to give a concluding remark, because we already have to wrap up the session, and the role of doctors in taking care of a person with type 1 diabetes.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Shana, would you like to say something before I conclude it? Though Banshi sir had said a very important thing, that when we put a patient on AID, the role of doctor reduces. But what I did when I started using DIY, I made sure that the role of my doctor increases. How? Because now sugars I am taking control of, and my doctor takes care of my macro and microvascular diseases. So that role I transferred to my doctor. Every 3 months I go, I show him my reports, my HbA1c and everything, and then I ask, this is what I'm doing, how I can improve more. So it is very important to empower your patient to understand what is your role. And like my doctor, we have a very good friendship. My doctor is an adult endocrinologist, and every 3 months I'll show him that this is what I'm doing, and he'll say, okay Mehak, exercise you're doing, but during exercise this is happening, this can impact this, just work on this thing. 2 minutes. And like Dr. Banshi sir said, very important thing to have a team of caretakers like educators, social worker. That definitely helps, and the person wants to come back to you because he still looks up to you. You have empowered them with that pump also. So with this, I would like to thank you all for attending this session, and thank you Jyotidev sir and the entire team for including this very important session where all the educator, type 1 and the doctors were on the same stage, because it helps us also understand that yes, doctors want us to come on the stage and share our journey. So thank you so much.